Welcome to the Startup of the Year podcast, where each episode we showcase exciting new companies from around the world. This podcast is produced by Established, creators of the Startup of the Year program. Established is focused on helping organizations with their innovation, startup, and communication strategies.
Welcome back to the Startup of the Year podcast. I'm Frank Gruber, the co-founder and co-CEO of Established, co-founder of Established Ventures, and the team behind the Startup of the Year community and this very podcast. Thank you for being here. Today we've got a special episode today I'm going to be joined by Natalia Talkowska and Rohit Bhargava. Natalia Talkowska is the founder of Natalka Design, a visual consultancy that provides communication tools and enables leaders to communicate with more confidence and engage their audience so they can take action. And Rohit Bhargava has been on our podcast a few times. I think this is the third time now. He is a founder and chief curator at The Non-Obvious Company, a network of experts that aims to help leaders, organizations, and individuals develop habits to see what others miss. He's also an accomplished author and keynote speaker. And also, like I said, I've known him for a long time, going back to the DC days when I used to live in DC. We were doing things back in 2007, 2008, something like that. Anyway, let's jump to the conversation with Natalia Talkowska and Rohit Bhargava.
First off, thank you both for joining me. I know you guys are busy and running around. I'm watching I literally could just sit and watch your Instagram all day. I know it's not healthy, but I could. And I mean, it's not healthy because you're not supposed to scroll as much. It's really exciting what you're doing.
You're, I guess, my target audience now.
I'm just like, Rohit did that, and then you did this. Yeah, very busy. I don't know your Instagram, or I'd probably follow that too. So anyway, let's talk a little bit more about this particular book. It's number 12?
Number 10, exactly.
10?
Yeah, you got
10?
it, exactly.
I think it was 12.
Yeah,
I think,
No, it was 10. You knew.
10, yeah, 10.
So this one is sort of a prequel to a lot of the other books that I've written, which were all about trends and the future. And this one is about a way of thinking that allows you to do what futurists do. Mm-hmm. And it's all about doing things that are non-obvious. And that's why Natalka's here, because we're doing something very non-obvious tomorrow. And I wanted her to share that and share a little bit about how we're doing it. Yeah.
What are you doing tomorrow?
All right. Here you go.
What are we doing tomorrow, guys?
I don't know yet.
It's all very kind of go, go, go. But tomorrow around 9:30, am I correct? At Hilton. Right. And I feel like I shouldn't be saying more. Ask Rohit, he knows everything. Exactly. But we'll be doing it in an interactive way. So we'll take a bunch of people for Rohit's new book.
Like these types of people, right?
Potentially. Specially invited people. That's why I'm keeping it cool here. And we want to kind of look at all the chapters, which is like 24. It's a lot of chapters, right? And exactly, all short. And we want everyone to, in an interactive way, tell us what the visuals should be. What do they see? What should we put in the book? So we want to make it very interactive, want to make it fun, want to make people open up their minds and tell us. And who knows, maybe some of their ideas will end up in the book. So that's what we're going to be doing tomorrow. I'm going to be facilitating those conversations and make it in a non-obvious way again.
And then turning it into something that would be in the book, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's a very real-time way of writing a book, which is really cool. And also then visual, which will keep people excited and probably pull them into the next chapter.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, one of the things that I think business books do is they get a little dense.
Yeah.
And so they feel unapproachable.
Yeah.
And so this book will have a very visual element. It's got 24 chapters, but it's if you know books, it's only about 18,000 words, which is quite low for a book. Like most average business books you would read would have probably 60, 70,000, just for comparison's sake. So like a 250-page book will be about 60,000 words.
That feels nice.
Yeah.
Like it feels like light. And fluffy. I'd get through it quickly.
Yeah. And it was anybody who writes knows it's harder to write short than it is to write long.
I'm sure it is, yeah.
We always say if it was too long, we'd say, I'm sorry, I didn't have time to make it shorter. Because it takes time to make it good and short. But that was really important because we wanted it to be approachable.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense to me. And I think that, you've written these different books spotting trends and things, and now I want to understand, how are you coming up with non-obvious thinking? Like, what does that mean to somebody? Like, if I was to ask you, like, how did you kind of approach this book as far as thinking, like, what are going to be in these 24 chapters?
Well, I can give my perspective, and then I know you do a lot of non-obvious visualization.
Yeah.
For me, it was all about like trying to create a method that people could use and remember. So I'm big on acronyms because I'm a marketer, and the acronym for the book is SIFT. And the word sift means looking at something thoroughly to find what's most meaningful. The word is actually really great as an acronym, but the acronym stands for, S stands for space, so create more space, like the breathing exercise that you and I did, like the 7-minute meetup, that's an example. You're creating space for thinking, new connections in a crowded space.
I did a 7-minute workout this morning at 5 a.m.
Okay, yeah, everybody does their own thing.
We were talking about fun facts, I thought earlier, so I'm still on those. I'm still trying to think what my next one's going to be, non-obvious fact. Okay.
Does you like getting mentally ready for the workout?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's S, right?
Yeah.
The I is insights, trying to come up with new ideas, new insights. The F is focus, so find a way to focus your ideas, pay attention to what matters. And the T is twist. And the twist is where it really becomes non-obvious, like you come up with something that no one else has come up with. So that's the method. That's the sort of framework for the book.
Wow, that's really interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, why we connect with the non-obvious. And guys, by the way, I come from London, so I'm here. I feel like, I'm one of the few, and learning about all this South by Southwest energy is amazing. So good to be here. But the non-obvious as well, that's kind of what I do since I started my business for 12, 13 years. Everything that we do is kind of taking company stories and making them non-obviously beautiful, engaging visual. So when we got together at Rawhead, it was just kind of like a meant-to-be connection. And tomorrow I'm so excited to kind of bring that energy into the room. And who knows, like maybe we'll just have all the illustrations done there and then. How cool would that be?
Yeah, we really don't know how fast it's going to go. So true startup mode.
So speaking of speed, there's been a bit of a revolution lately with AI. I know it's been around for a while. You probably talked about AI a lot in your past books, and it's coming and it's here. Oh my God! So now what? Like what do you? How does that impact you guys when you think about non-obvious thinking? It's become an obvious thing, but it's also, is it still non-obvious too? I don't know.
I mean, I think that tools can become obvious, but you can use them in non-obvious ways. And for us, AI was always going to be a collaborator, not a creator. And a lot of people are talking about that, like using it as a collaborative tool as opposed to just replacing someone or replacing something with it. So I'll give you an example. Like when writing the book, one of the things that I would do is I would take a chapter of the book that I've written, I would feed it into ChatGPT, and I would ask it to write a 1-star negative review and tell me all the things that suck about that chapter.
Oh, wow. That's
then
a good way
I
to
know
do
what
it.
to fix. Like maybe things are unclear because maybe the algorithm's reading it and saying, oh, you could do it this way. And so it gives me ideas in real time. Now, I could do that with a person also, and I do. I hire professional editors. But to be able to do that in real time, to work on, it's not 2 or 3 drafts. Like every chapter goes through 18 drafts. So to be able to do the first several of those 18 drafts with AI, it helps me make it better faster.
So that just is that's a great example. Do you use AI as well for anything you're doing?
Oh, of course, yeah. And I mean, this is like I always talk about this because in the world of creatives, let's say, and the agency that I run, a lot of people get really scared, and there's a lot of kind of vibe, especially where I am, of like, oh no, I'm gonna lose my job. What's gonna happen? That's the end of it. And I'm like, no, let's just be part of the conversation, like we've always had. Like internet came and that changed everyone's life, and now AI came and it's not going anywhere. So we use it a lot, and we want to empower our clients, especially when we do ideation, when we do kind of quick thinking. But we also make them understand that use your creativity still, use your ideas first. Extract something from your brain, make it your own, so that you feel like you can then elevate it to a great, amazing place with the tool. But start with your own brain. Don't lose that, because then kind of like what is there left? We're just all going to be in a washing machine of AI ideas that are kind of the same, because really ChatGPT is just a mixture of all of our thoughts from before, right? So like when will that change in terms of we need still new ideas? So make sure that you still implement them, and then like let's use the tools to like really elevate that idea. So we use that a lot, and I think that brings a bit of more confidence to people rather than like fear. Oh no, what's going to happen with.
It sounds like it's just like both of you, it's using it as like steroids to do what you normally do. Like it's really interesting, like to see how you're doing it. Like you're not using it to build your own work, but you're using it as a tool to make yourselves better. So that's really a unique way to do it. I know some people that are using it to make their own work, and I'm curious how it's going to go down. But next kind of going on, how do you identify some of these themes? Like I know you mentioned the approach you take. What does it take to say, okay, what's the twist? How do you sift through all that yourself to figure out, okay, this is definitely a non-obvious thinking item. I'm gonna like highlight this, figure it out, and then how do you approach it from like how do I show this in a unique way?
Well, there's a few straightforward ways, right?
I don't know how you
I do
twist,
a lot
I guess.
of,
That's the
like,
question. How do you twist? You know?
Yeah, how do you twist? Well, the first thing is you can, in the publishing world, right? I do a lot of publishing for my own books, but I also own a publishing company. We do titling for books. The obvious way to do that is you come up with a title, you think it's great, then you search on Amazon. If someone else has the title, you know it's not that original, right? And you could do the same thing with, like, you know, the patent searches to see if somebody has a patent for something. Entrepreneurs do that, right? Domain names. So, like, there are ways to test if something you think is non-obvious because it's new to you is actually new. And that's the first layer of being able to create a twist. And you'd be amazed how many people don't do that.
I mean, you're amazing at branding too. You have this, like, you've been doing this for so long. You're just really good at it. I mean, what is with that kind of thought? So that's a great first step. Now what? Like, what's the next step?
The next one is to try and reduce until it's something that people can remember and that's meaningful for people. And I've done it a few different ways, right? So non-obvious is a brand. It's a trademarked brand now. And it's meaningful for people. Maybe they hear the word and they don't think what I think about it, but it means something to them. It means that you have to do something differently from what you've done before. And that's kind of the vibe that I'm trying to create with it. And I think that's what a good brand does.
Right. And then from a design perspective, how do you approach it? Like, is it a similar thing you're kind of thinking about? Like, I guess, how do you twist? I guess is rephrase the question.
My job is to make people choose less things. So it's all about simplifying in my work, because people come and they're like, Natalia, we've got all these ideas and they're so important. Everything's so important. I'm like, I know it's so important because it's your idea. Obviously, you wouldn't be here. But it is all about simplifying. So we use a lot of neuroscience. We use a lot of literally kind of how our brains work in terms of looking at facts. Because, like, there's data that says literally the brain will look at, like, after fourth thing, it gets really confused. It's kind of like the brain goes 1, 2, 3, 4, lots. So, like, for example, little things like that where we really, our job is to simplify the story, simplify the idea. You know, what's the beginning, what's the middle, what's the end? What is the message that you want to give? The details will follow. If you see someone really getting hooked in, they will come and you can tell them everything else, and you can show them the endless slides, and you can, you know, write 5 books. But really, as well, for tomorrow, we'll be really focused on, if you had just a chance to, like, draw one thing from this moment in the book, what comes to you? So my job is to focus and simplify, and that's the twist, I think, because everyone wants to say so much and there's not enough time and we're all overwhelmed.
That's really hard. So you both do the same thing, but one's visual and one's written.
That's why it works together.
Yeah, perfect. It seems like perfect setup. So, so I think from my perspective, you got this 24-chapter book. You know how Taylor Swift has her number 13? You familiar with this? She likes 13. You've heard of Taylor Swift, right? Taylor? Yeah, she's really popular. So you've probably been on that for a while. Yeah, yes, exactly.
I'm going to her gig, guys, in London.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So you've heard of her. Anyway, so number 13. I was curious, for your 24 chapters, is there a chapter that you were like, this is the chapter because of the number? It doesn't have to be because of the number, but I was kind of getting to the point of, like, what chapter of the book do you like the most as far as the story itself? And is it like, I'm curious, is it chapter 13?
I don't have the numbers memorized yet, so I don't know. It could be. Mm-hmm. I don't know that. I mean, it's really tough to say favorite chapter, because
or
the
story
ideas
that's in
will
it,
be,
or what, you know, like what?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things. Well, I tell the story of the 7-minute meetup,
right,
yeah. Which is very relevant for the topic that I'm trying to share. But I also talk about, like, there's a story that is inspired by the work of Jane McGonigal, who I was just talking to, a guy who had to take off, but I was talking to him about that before, and she's
great,
amazing, and she does a lot of futures work, and she talks about imagining a potential future, to imagine how the world would be different because of it. And one of the things she talks about is, imagine you had to wake up every day checking the asteroid forecast to see if it was likely that an asteroid would hit.
Yes.
And how would that change the way you live? How would that change whether you decide to stay living in a certain place?
Is there an asteroid forecast
Not
somewhere?
yet.
Oh, geez.
Right. But there's an equivalent in some places, because there are some places in the world where people wake up and the first thing they do is check the air quality to see if they're going to actually go out to work, or if they're going to send their kids to school or they're not.
Yeah.
And they decide based on how the air quality is. We don't live that reality, but that's real. That's not
We check the
imagined.
weather. We check the weather.
We check the weather. But we
Sometimes.
don't, and sometimes we decide to stay in or
Yeah,
don't.
right.
But this is more life or death.
Right.
It's not like, oh, I want to take an umbrella or I don't.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That is really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in London. We just check if it's raining. What can I say?
Which is generally the case, right? So you're
Just assume
fine.
it's raining.
Yeah,
Like
just
that's
bring
it,
the
yeah.
umbrella. I think you just be safe.
I've been there 16 years, guys, and I never packed my umbrella. And I'm like, 16 years, and you still assume that it will be sunny. No.
Yeah. I mean, pretty much I've been to London a few times. Every time I go there, I buy an umbrella, so they must be doing really well. So that's a good business, actually, from a...
There you go. Non-obvious umbrellas.
Yeah, non-obvious umbrellas in London, especially. But yeah, so from a startup, we have a very startup audience, innovator audience. What's like one thing you'd pull from the book? I mean, obviously, thinking non-obviously is pretty obvious, right, at this point, because it's the name of the book. What else? What could they pull from this that would make them, like, as they're starting a company or they're coming up with ideas? Branding was a really good tip. Like,
Yeah.
what are some other things that they could think about?
So I would say that one of the things that a lot of entrepreneurs do is they bank on the experience that they've had up until a certain point to then innovate in that space. They've been in healthcare for 10 years, now they come up with their healthcare tech. They've been in financial services for X number of years, now they come up with the innovation. And what that causes you to do is have these really direct blinders to your industry and no others. Because what's made you successful is ideally going to make you more successful. And then you sit in front of VCs and they want to know how much experience you have in the space that you're innovating in. And so everything drives you towards like, focus on this thing, focus on this, focus on this, and look at nothing else. So my advice for the entrepreneurs would be look at other industries, not yours.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the idea that you're searching for is not in your industry. It's not in your expertise.
Yeah.
And everything you've been trained up until that moment to focus on, which is build my expertise in this one thing, so that when I get that VC meeting, they're like, oh, you have 25 years of experience in this. Of course we're going to fund you, right?
Yeah.
Resist that thinking all
It's
the time.
tough because like the money side of it, like you said, it's that, oh, you must know what you're doing because you've been doing this for so long. You know this industry. I read a story recently about two guys that started a bakery to make like vegan, gluten-free like treats or whatever. They've never cooked in their lives. Like literally, they have no idea what they're doing. They never knew. Like they didn't matter, right? They got the right people. They figured it out, and they're really successful. So I think it was just the systems and the processes that I think is really interesting. And you've got a process for finding. You're an avid reader. You find information. Like all of his guides. I don't know if you've been following his guides for years, but then also even at South by, his guides have been really great for what to go to, which is helpful. And so I think that process is really great. Being able to sift is kind of one of your things, and I think this new process you created is going to help people. So, is there anything else you guys want to share as far as like things they should think about or be thinking about as you're kind of trying to create your own new thing?
I don't know, you want to share like a final thought?
Yeah, like
Final thought, like in terms of like suggestion for entrepreneurs,
Yes.
or always, guys, like I wouldn't be here if I wasn't speaking to people, and I feel like this is like a place where whether you want to or not, you will speak to people, and Rohit is very much an avid advocate of that, like for you to talk and connect. So I wouldn't be here if I wasn't talking to people, if I wasn't asking questions, if I wasn't just curious and just kind of like, I'm here, this is my idea, this is how I want to help people, this is the value that I bring, and see who connects. And again, it's very much about how you speak about it. So the simpler your story, the more people will connect. I guess that's the kind of always thing that I said to myself and everyone else and seems to land.
That's great. That's great advice. Do you want to add one more thing?
I don't know, can I go with a tagline of be non-obvious? I mean, honestly, like,
Absolutely.
share something unusual about yourself. Like, be more than just, my home city is this, my job title is that. Like, you can choose to be more than that this weekend.
Right.
So just do that.
Okay. I think I did. I did a 7-minute workout. That was not obvious.
I mean, yeah.
I was getting ready for your meetup.
You were secretly hiding your Swiftiness, too, so,
If I mentioned that, did I tell you about it? Anyway, we do have, I'll tell you about that later. So thank you all for being here today. Thank you guys for being here as well, Rohit and Natalia. This was really interesting. And we're excited about the book coming out too. So September 2024, mark your calendars.
September, you got it. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thanks so much.
And it's available for pre-orders now, so
Oh.
if you want to just go to Amazon and buy it now.
Right now. If you have
definitely do that.
Anyone with a mobile phone would like to get it out and pre-order, do that now if you have the capabilities.
What a great conversation with Natalia and Rohit that took place at South by Southwest, which is right around the corner. I know it doesn't feel like it, but it is. So if you're planning anything at South by Southwest, please do reach out to me or to some of our team at Established. You can go to established.us to learn more, or est.us, and contact us about South by Southwest, because we do plan different things at South by Southwest, things like our video series and other activations, and there could be opportunities to work together. So if you're interested in doing something at South by, please do reach out to us. We've been doing it for over a decade and would love to work with you. So let's explore. Anyway, thanks so much for listening. Hopefully you enjoyed this podcast episode and learned something new from this conversation. And if you have a startup idea or want to get something going, today's the best day to start, not tomorrow, not the next day. Get off the silence, get it going. And hopefully we can help you along the way with things like our Startup of the Year podcast, our encouraging community, and other programs and resources that we offer through our various channels. So go to startupofyear.com to learn more and apply today. Until next time, I'm Frank Gruber. Don't forget to hug your loved ones out there. Go make some waves in the world, and good luck starting up. Have a great day.
Thanks for listening to the Startup of the Year podcast. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll be back with another episode soon.